Welcome to the Death of a Dream podcast. Okay, my name is Hanna Nuss. I am your host. This is a movement. This is a moment in time where you can sit with your thoughts, where we're going to expand and explode and call in big things for your life. Because if you've joined this movement really is about releasing yourself from the dreams that never came true, right? Or from the dreams that you hope are going to come true, but maybe don't. And knowing that there is some divine, beautiful reason for all of this. And I know that right when you're in the middle of it, it's tough to see any kind of life. It's tough to even call light back into your life because it's just low and it's miserable and you're like, why has this happened? Where am I supposed to go? This was supposed to be the plan. What do I do now? Right? And if you're experiencing that moment, here we are with hope, with some form of guidance, and I don't even want to call it that because it really isn't about guiding you. It's about walking alongside of you, right? I have no answers. You have the answers, right? And sometimes all you need is someone to give you permission to continue walking forward, and that's what this is. Keep walking forward, keep questioning it, keep pushing yourself, keep showing up, keep taking risks, keep trying because you deserve the life that you want. And I know that it seems like you aren't supposed to get it, right? Because it didn't play out the way that you envisioned it happening. But I am telling you, there is something bigger and better and even more beautiful than what you would have even allowed yourself to dream. Period. And sometimes it's just about finding yourself and giving yourself permission to start walking and discovering what this new path is supposed to look like. But if you never accept the loss of what you thought it was going to be, you're going to remain in limbo for a very long time, and I do not want you to do that. I want you to decide here on out. I want you to live life on your own terms, and they don't have to adopt something else because you didn't make it. You get to decide here on out. There was no one path for you. There are a million paths for you. That's the beauty of this life. You have to decide. Do you want control of it? Do you want to be the person who has a say in your life? And I know that seems scary, and that's exactly what we work on here. Build it up. Build it up. So every day I start the podcast with a great thing, and I share my own greatness, right? And I think about that sometimes, and I'm like, what an audacious way to approach the beginning of your podcast. And I do that because you're going to need it. You're just going to need it. You're going to need to be audacious. You are going to need to call on that at some point in this journey. I promise you. I can't actually promise you anything but that. And so it's risky, right? It's risky for me to come on and to stand here confidently and tell you about the amazingness that is me, right? That's a risk. It is. I mean, how many environments have you been in surrounded by women and someone feels threatened by that? And probably the second that they hear someone standing up and saying how amazing they are, and then doing it, I don't know, is this the 389th episode? Doing it every podcast, right? You might be sitting there like, oh, this girl, ugh. I'm not doing it to offend anyone, right? I'm doing it to build your own confidence to do that for yourself, right? And it is the audacity that it takes to start a podcast like that, especially knowing who the audience is. But I'm here to attract people who need this, who need to grow in that way, who want to do that for themselves, because I needed to grow in that way. I needed to find my own audacity so that I could walk in this world like that. And, I find it funny because before this, the word audacity just kept kind of playing in my head. And I'm like, well, how does that play in? And so I look up the definition because, words. And to be audacious, showing a willingness to take surprisingly bold risks. And so that's what I'm talking about. Even when I sat here and questioned whether or not I should start every show with my great thing, I just knew that that was going to be the path for whatever reason. And I didn't have a reason when I started it. And I'm not sure I still do, but today it's getting more clearer. And it is a risk. Yeah. Walking into a room of women, which is what most of us are, and declaring that I am great may be something that turns a group off. But I want us to start walking in that. I do. Everyone who listens to this, let's just go. Let's go. Let's leave that behind. So that's the first definition. Showing a willingness to take surprisingly bold risks. And here is the second definition. Showing an abundant lack of respect. And we're doing that too. I have no respect for women not being able to show up confident, for women not being able to call on their greatness, for women having to go ahead and just transfer power to the team at large. I will show disrespect to that all day long. And that's exactly what this great thing is about. Period. It's about disrespecting where we have been, right? Where we have been forced to sit and sit back and sit idle and be handed disrespect back. I was watching a video interviewing Amanda Gorman, who is the youth poet laureate who spoke yesterday at the inauguration. And she was talking about how in all of her poetry classes, people in her classes, white men specifically, would talk about her work and talk about how it's too confident. And, right, what a box to go ahead and just put us all in. Because what if we do get confident? What if we get confident about the confidence of everyone around us? What if we aren't offended in a group of women where we're all amazing and sharing that? What if we're just about matching each other's energies and we love each other so fearlessly, so boldly that we lift each other up and that we can't even help but share our greatness? What if that's the environment we create? Because it is not a scarcity mindset that we practice here. No, no, no. It is abundance. It is beauty. And it is about a call for you to step into your own audacity. Take those bold risks. Speak on your greatness. There is no reason to question it. If you are showing up confident in a room, it's because you are supposed to be there and you are probably more talented than everyone sitting there. And watching Amanda speak yesterday, I have no question why her confidence was being questioned. She was bigger than the room. And the only option they had at that point was to break her down. And by some grace, she knew better. And she kept walking. And that's what I hope to instill in everyone here. Period. Okay, so we've just been talking about our great things. I'm going to go ahead and talk about my great thing. My great thing for the day, for yesterday, was I came downstairs, okay? And as I was walking downstairs, my husband said, "Ooh, girl, you're gonna need to get yourself ready to go downstairs." And he's like, "It's a little crazy down there. It's lava." And so I sprint down the stairs. And my girls are kind of like, what kind of energy is she bringing down here, right? Like, are we about to get in trouble because we just made this house a mess? And you can only imagine what hot lava looks like, right? They need to still walk through this living room. And so, right, they've placed rocks all over the ground in order for them to not fall into the hot lava that is the carpet. And so I'm running down the stairs and I'm like, you guys, I don't know how this lava just got in here, but I can't believe it's here. Right? And then I have to find my way to the kitchen on these rocks, these lava rocks. And incidentally, they're actually Post-it notes from my office up here, of which I'm pretty sure they came in and took from me when I was on a call, because I couldn't say anything to them at that time. And and so they're all over, right? And this is like multi-level naughtiness here. They took some of my office supplies. We know that that's not good. They misuse said office supplies, right? Because they're just rocks at this point. And they're all over the floor. And instead of being mad in that moment, I transferred myself to that moment. And I was like, seriously, I get it, right? I can't even imagine the amount of lava floors that I had faced in my childhood. And so I just sunk into the fun of that. Like, it was the funnest thing ever. And even when they stopped playing lava floor, I was still committed to it. Like, every time that I take a trip to the kitchen or to the dining room, I'm using the rocks to get there. And they're kind of like, yeah, Mom, it's not lava anymore. We want to just go back to normal life. And I'm still like, you're in the lava. You're burning up. I don't know what you're doing. Get on a rock. They're all over the place. Get on it. You're burning. You're burning. You're burning. The dog's burning. Come on, save them. And it was just so much fun, And I think for me, it's about releasing back into just fun. Like, why did we think that life was supposed to be so miserable? Why did we all sign up for that guarantee? And I think it is really, it stems from that death of a dream moment, right? Like, the second that I knew that I wasn't going down the athlete path, that I wasn't going to have that happen, I was just like, okay, well, it's plan B and misery from here. Hopefully you just hold on tight to those fun days. And I'm just not really willing to sign up for that. I don't think that that's true at all. I think that beauty and light are a divine right. And that we can all start finding that again. You do not have to give up on that. So my great thing was just having fun and not even coming down with that intention, right? Like, I wasn't like, okay, today I'm going to be fun, Mom, and we're going to give into that and I'm going to let them have mess it. Like, no, I was just playing lava because lava, people, lava. Seriously. Okay. Take time to recognize yourself for your own greatness. I can't even tell you how transformative of a process it is, how important it is, right? And we're going to dig into that a little bit, but really taking time. And this is a risk, right? People who come in without that same boldness may be offended by it. But true to what I set the intention for every single podcast, I know that it's going to find people who are ready for it. And who are ready to receive that and who are ready to start walking in their greatness. So I really don't question it. Anybody who isn't there is going to turn away. And maybe they come back because they get it later on. But not all things are for everyone. Keep on walking. Okay. Let's get in today. The audacity, that is the title of this. That is what we're going to discuss. I can't even help it. Right? And when I looked up the definitions, I was just like, this is so life-giving because it's just so true to all moments that we're about to face, right? And I think the most beautiful and wonderful part of finding your own audacity is that you're just bold. And almost like, I don't want to call it stupidly bold, but blindly bold in the pursuit of whatever it is in your heart. And I don't want you to get to a point where you blindly chase this and you see nothing else. Because obviously that creates some sort of unbalance in the way things are supposed to work. But, we just have to cross over into that willingness to just take surprisingly bold risks. Because that essentially is the only way that new things get created. You know, I have been working on what will be the first company that I put out, right? This is a journey back to what it is you feel called to be, the entirety of this journey, not just the start. And I think in my mind, this was all supposed to lead somewhere. And I've been really adamant about just letting things play out the way that they're supposed to and walking the way that I am being called. And so been very called to start this first company and start working on that. And so as I'm sitting there, forcing myself to think outside the box, forcing myself to create what doesn't already exist. And it's not even necessarily forcing. The forcing doesn't come from trying to find original thought, right? That's easy. You probably think of a million things all day that you could think of making better this way if it was only like this, right? The forcing comes from you pushing yourself to audacity. You being willing to take surprisingly bold risks because that's the only way. That is the only way that we create something new. And do you think that this country, of which, we're only on our 46th president, and I don't know if anyone else is kind of shocked by that, but this 4-year terms, and it just seems like we would have a lot more at this point. I don't know. Maybe no one else is shocked, and maybe, I need to do a little more research on how long of terms everyone's have been, but when they were saying 46, what number Super Bowl are we in? Which those are every year. But I'm still just saying the 46 thing just kind of shocked me. Okay. Either way, this country is a representation of so many different countries all brought together. And so you think that it doesn't belong in this world, and it absolutely does. The most important thing that we can do is represent, right? Represent a group of people that maybe aren't represented. What is that idea? What is that bold thought? And allow it to flow in, and allow it to come to fruition, to come to your mind, to change the world as you see it. right? Like maybe you have this beautiful gift to speak up for people who aren't being spoken for. That was one of my favorite parts about working in healthcare. It was like, I didn't come from a background of nurses and doctors and people who understood healthcare. I came from people who didn't get it at all. And as a result of that, we experienced so much pain and debt and misunderstanding of the medical system as a whole. And no one was willing to come and meet us and explain how it worked. And we had no one to help guide us through that. And so when I come into healthcare, that's the lens that I'm speaking through, right? Like, make this more accessible. Why aren't we explaining this? How do we change this? And I couldn't really find a way to change anything. Like, it's just written the way that it is, and it needs to be rewritten. It absolutely does. And I hope that it gets rewritten, but I was no longer the person who was going to be able to do that for that industry. But I know that there are good people there who are going to continue to fight and do that work. And I know that at some point I'll get to go back there and help change it, but it's not close enough yet. And it really isn't my ship to steer at this point. But that's where you can speak from. That's the beauty of your voice. You've been given these experiences, right? Like, you have all of these experiences that are meant to guide and shape and perfectly place you on this path, whatever that is, right? And once we start to acknowledge the beauty of who we're supposed to be, and the problem is that the second that we start stepping into that, right? Like, we all have our Amanda Gorman moment where we start walking down that path and people start going, oh, I get it. Like, you think you're good. Okay. We're going to go ahead and just take a couple notches off your belt there because I don't know if that's the right term, right? But like, we're going to bring you back down to size because we see you. We see the power that you are exhibiting. We see the potential of where you could go. And honestly, it scares us. And honestly, it's different. And honestly, it's audacious. And I don't know how I could even stop you if I let you keep running down this track. And so they're going to plant some seeds. They're going to plant some seeds of doubt. They're going to plant seeds of lack of abundance. They are going to plant seeds of scarcity, and they are going to try to bring you back in. Try to break your confidence. Try to tell you that that doesn't already exist and that you are not the person to create it. And I am here to tell you, if no one has before, you are the person. You are the person to create it. You are the person to make that happen. And I don't know what that looks like for you. I don't know what path you're being called to right now, but I can tell you, as someone who is working on listening, you're being spoken to. A lot of times I think we know, right? Like, I knew, and I probably should have went down this path when I was like 20 something, right? And imagine how much easier it would have been, for goodness sakes. Like, I might have had an Instagram following for F's sake. I got an Instagram like a year ago, people. Give me a break. But I think that's just it. You know, had I gone down this path when I was 20, yes, the road would have been easier, but it wasn't meant to be easy, right? I was meant to tell this full story. I was meant to build from zero. And I was meant to help, I don't know, maybe guide you back to where you're supposed to go. And maybe that looks like 2 episodes, or maybe that looks like 200 episodes, like whatever, right? But you know. You just have to be willing to step into your own greatness. You have to be willing to be audacious, right? Try something bold, fall down, get messy, screw it up. And I know that that's the opposite of what our culture is telling you, right? Play it safe. But when we're walking on this path of no more scarcity, of abundance, right? Everything that is for us is going to come to us. And so we become a magnet for the things meant for us, for the people meant for us. And it starts with you starting to acknowledge that there is a path for you. There is a beautiful life planned for you, right? Can you see that? When you close your eyes, can you see that? What are those things? What do you see? And what is the conversation in your head after you see those things? That's what I want you to start paying attention to. Because if it's anything but abundance, we got to start making a shift. The biggest problem may be that you don't actually believe that you deserve this life you see, and you do. And if you've been creating something that is bold and new and different, or you've been walking a different path, you may be going the right way. You may be the person who is supposed to be the first. You may be the person who is supposed to make that thing. And I don't even know if we don't erase the maybe altogether. You are the person. You are the person who is supposed to build that thing. You are the person who is supposed to be that voice. You are the person. And as you start to walk that path, guide yourself on love versus ego. And that is like a really crazy line to walk, right? But ego looks like you feeding on your own importance, right? And love looks like you feeding on the importance you bring to others, right? Like, if you're so hell-bent on being this person, on being this being, like I was, no question. It is a hard mental shift to get past that big, huge ego that's sitting on both your shoulders, right? Like, we got ego, we have goodness, we have love and light and ego. And ego is almost like the devil character, where the white angel is on one shoulder and the devil's on the other. That's kind of ego, okay? And it's going to try to mislead you and misguide you and make you go for things that probably aren't meant for you, right? Like, but you can just say, no, it's okay. I'm going to follow love and light and abundance because abundance is mine. I assign abundance to my own life. And I am going to walk in my own audaciousness. I am going to take surprisingly bold risks, even if that means showing an abundant lack of respect, because I don't respect the way that it's been. I am here to create something that has never been created. I am breaking molds. I am breaking generational curses. I am the person who is supposed to do this work. And so it is. And you start walking this new, beautiful path that is guided by love and light and everything you could have ever dreamt for yourself. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world.